Hey everybody, I'm Holly, aka the ScientoloGeek, and I want to welcome you to the 19th episode of Going Over the Data Series. Now, we are going to cover Data Series 15 and 16 about wrong target and investigatory procedure. It's might be a little bit longer than usual because of the fact that one's 3 pages, one is 1 page, so we were able to skim right through 15 and then might take a little bit to get through 16. Other than that, I don't really have much to talk about. If you want access to the volumes, to flag orders, base orders, OT levels, at least old OT level stuff, I gotta still search for the new stuff. But if you want access, send me a request either through Discord, the server link is in the description, or through my Gmail, scientologeek@gmail.com. That's also in the description. And send me a valid Gmail address so I can email you the invite. Without any further ado, let's get started. So we have the HCO policy letter of the 8th of August, 1970, called Wrong Target.
There's an additional specific outpoint. It is wrong target. This means, in effect, an incorrect selection of an objective to attempt or attack. Example: Josie Ann has been sitting in the house reading. Her brother Oscar's been playing ball in the yard. A window breaks. Josie Ann's mother rushes into the room, sees Josie Ann and the ball on the floor, spanks Josie Ann. This outpoint contains the element, amongst other things, of injustice. There is another version of this. Example: a firm has its premises flooded. The manager promptly insists on buying fire insurance. Example: the people of Yangville are starving due to food scarcity in the land. The premier borrows £65 million to build a new capital and palace. Example: the government is under attack and riot and civil disorder spreads. The government officials campaign to put down all quote-unquote rightists for trying to establish law and order. Example: a man is beaten and robbed on the main street of a town. The police demand to know why he was there and put him in jail for a long period of investigation. Example: the multi-billion-dollar drug cartels push out 65 tons of habit-forming hard drugs. A government campaigns against cigarettes.
Who's to say they can't do both at the same time?
Example: a boy wants to be an accountant. His family forces him to join the army as a career. It's noted that the very insane often attack anyone who seeks to help them. This outpoint is very fundamental as an illogic and is very useful.
I don't think the insane either A, realize that people are trying to help them, so if you have someone with schizophrenia, especially paranoid schizophrenia, they're going to think that everybody's after them, or they just attack anyone in general without specific preference as to who. This will be the last policy letter for today. It's the HCO policy letter of the 19th of September, 1970, issue number 1, Data Series 16, called Investigatory Procedure.
Correction of things which are not wrong and neglecting things which are not right puts the tombstone on any org or civilization. In auditing, when one reviews or corrects a case that is running well, one has trouble. It is made trouble. Similarly, on the third dynamic, correcting situations which do not exist and neglecting situations which do exist can destroy a group. All this boils down to correct investigation. It is not a slight skill, it is the basic skill behind any intelligent action. Suppressive justice. When justice goes astray, as it usually does,
Bullshit. Your justice goes astray, especially with the whole religious arbitration and whatever cases are going on with that, with the Danny Masterson and Valerie Haney, Valeska Paris.
the things that have occurred are 1. Use of justice for some other purpose than public safety, such as maintaining a privileged group or indulging a fixed idea, or 2. Investigatory procedure. All suppressive use of the forces of justice can be traced back to one or the other of these. Aberrations and hate very often find outlet by calling them justice or law and order. This is why it can be said that man cannot be trusted with justice.
Well, man defines justice. Justice is a term made by man. What's wrong with investigatory procedure anyway? There's got to be a way to investigate.
This or just plain stupidity bring about a neglect of intelligent investigatory procedures, yet all third dynamic sanity depends upon correct and unaberrated investigatory procedures.
Third dynamic is group.
Only in that way can one establish causes of things, and only by establishing causes one can cease to be the effect of unwanted situations. It's one thing to be able to observe. It's quite another to utilize observations so that one can get to the basis of things. Sequences. Investigations become necessary in the face of outpoints or plus points. Investigations can occur out of idle curiosity or particular interest. They can also occur to locate the cause of plus points. Whatever the motive for investigation, the action itself is conducted by sequences. If one is incapable mentally of tracing a series of events or actions, one cannot investigate. Altered sequence is a primary block to investigation. At first glance, omitted data would seem to be the block. On the contrary, it's the end product of an investigation and is what pulls an investigation along. One is looking for omitted data. An altered sequence of actions defeats any investigation. Examples: we'll hang him and then conduct a trial. We'll assume who did it and then find evidence to prove it. A crime should be provoked to find who commits them. Anytime an investigation gets back to front, it will not succeed. Thus, if an investigator himself has any trouble with seeing or visualizing sequences of actions, he will inevitably come up with the wrong answer. Reversely, when one sees that someone's come up with a wrong or incomplete answer, one can assume that the investigator has trouble with sequences of events, or, of course, did not really investigate. One can't really credit that Sherlock Holmes would say, "I have here the fingerprint of Mr. Murgatroyd on the murder weapon. Have the police arrest him. Now, Watson, hand me a magnifying glass and ask Sergeant Doherty to let us look over his fingerprint files." If one cannot visualize a series of actions like a ball bouncing down a flight of stairs, or if one cannot relate in proper order several different actions with one object into a proper sequence, he will not be able to investigate. If one can, that's fine. But any drilling with attention-shifting drills will improve one's ability to visualize sequences. Why? Stuck attention or attention that cannot confront alike will have trouble in visualizing sequences. Investigations. In the policy letter of the 11th of May, 1965, Ethics Officer Hat, the policy letter of the 1st of September, 65, number 7, Ethics Protection, the policy letter of the 1st of February, 66, version 2, inspections by executive secretaries how to do them, and pages 3, 4, 5, and 6 of the Manual of Justice, the subject of investigation as applied to justice is given. It will be noted that these are sequences of actions.
Justice stuff will be inside the Scientology ethics book. I'm working on reading it and going over it.
Editor's note: the Manual of Justice was a manual written for HCO personnel in 1959. Most of the data in it later appeared in the book Introduction to Scientology Ethics under Ethics Codes and in policy letters from 65 to 66 on ethics officer duties. See OEC Volume 1, section on the Department of Inspections and Reports. Neglect of these items or failure to know and follow them led here and there to suppressive uses of justice or to permitting orders to be suppressed by special interest groups in the society. Indeed, had these been in and followed, we would have had a great deal less trouble than we did. But investigation is not monopolized by law and order. All betterment of life depends on finding out plus points and why and reinforcing them, locating out points and why and eradicating them. This is the successful survival pattern of living. A primitive who is going to survive does just that, and a scientist who is worth anything does just that. The fisherman sees seagulls clustering over a point on the sea. That's the beginning of a short sequence. Point number 1, he predicts a school of fish.
Point number 2,
he sails over as sequence point number 3. He looks down at sequence point number 4. He sees fish as point number 5. He gets out a net as point number 6. He circles the school with the net. Number 7, he draws in the net. Number 8, he brings the fish on board. Number 9, he goes to port. Number 10, sells fish. Number 11, that's following a plus point, cluster of seagulls. A sequence from an outpoint might be: housewife serves dinner. Nobody eats the cake. Number 1, she tastes it. Number 2, she recognizes soap in it. Number 3, she goes to kitchen. Number 4, looks into the cupboard. Number 5, finds the soap box upset. Number 6, sees the flour below it. Number 7, sees the cookie jar empty. Number 8, grabs the young son. Number 9, shows him the setup. Number 10, gets a confession. Number 11, and number 12 is too painful to describe. Unsuccessful investigators think good fish catches are sent by God and that when cake tastes like soap, it is fate. They live in unsuccessful worlds of deep mystery. They also hang the wrong people.
It kind of seems right here that he's kind of dissing on Christianity right now. Or just any theistic god, any theistic religion. So, it's kind of interesting to see, considering that Scientologists do believe that they are gods. Their Thetans are gods. They just need to be reawoken to their native abilities. I don't know who thinks that when cake tastes like soap, it's fate. This is an unsuccessful investigator. This is just someone who's stupid.
Discovery. All discoveries are the end product of a sequence of investigatory actions that begin with either a plus point or an outpoint. Thus, all knowledge proceeds from plus points or outpoints observed, and all knowledge depends on an ability to investigate. And all investigation is done in correct sequence, and all successes depend upon the ability to do these things.
So, we have covered, in short, basically the TLDR of all this, is make sure you are covering the right thing with wrong, if this is the wrong target one. Make sure that based on an outpoint, you focus on the correct aspect to fix, which is not hard to think about. Most people do that anyway. I don't know why you need a policy letter for this. And there's also how to do correct investigation, which is literally just do stuff in order, that justice is wrong, that he just completely discounts what he would call WOG law in place of his own. Make sure things are in the correct sequence, which, duh, otherwise police wouldn't do their jobs. And basically it. Discoveries usually are the result of investigation, especially in science. But it doesn't always begin with a plus point or an out point. You could just literally be starting from scratch and making a hypothesis. So I think he has the statement about that all discoveries are the end product of a sequence of investigatory actions. I don't necessarily think that that's how they all start. I disagree with that. But it's usual Hubbard. It's people are stupid. I'm right. Here's how to do it my way, because your way is wrong. I don't have much else to say other than like if you like the video, dislike if you don't. I don't really care. Comment with your feedback or questions, good, bad, or sideways, and subscribe to be kept up to date on future content. I'll talk to all of you later. See ya.